Baby boomers really had it made financially. I mean, they got to go to college without racking up a whole bunch of student loans. They had a great job market. And when it came time for them to retire, many baby boomers not only got Social Security, but a pension from their company. Millennials, on the other hand, didn't. Millennials have the highest student loan debt than ever before. The job market keeps changing. Social Security is depleting. And a pension? What the heck is a pension? What's up, everybody? I am Jasprit Singh from the minorityMindset.com, where money minds rethink rich. The media loves talking about why millennials are financially screwed because millennials spend all their money on AirPods and Lululemon leggings and extra guac at Chipotle. But there's more to the story than that. I mean, on one hand, we have a higher cost of living. That's why your housing prices and your rent payments keep going up. We have a higher standard of living, and we have wages that aren't keeping up. That's a very bad combination when people are trying to save money to buy a home. It's very hard when people are trying to save money for retirement, and it's very hard when people are trying to save money to build their own wealth when the cost of everything around you keeps growing way faster than how much money you're making. That might partially be why the average millennial is only worth $8,000. They're still relying on their parents for money. They have very little money in their savings, and they have next to nothing saved up in their investment accounts. Let me show you what I mean by looking at some average numbers so you understand the average millennial. Now, I know if you're subscribed to the Minority Mindset YouTube channel, the goal is not to be average, but for the sake of this example, let's look at the average millennial, because the average person between the ages of 25 to 34 is currently making a salary of $47,736 a year. This is the median salary between people between the age of 25 and 34. And you got to understand this also includes people who are doctors, who are professionals, who are attorneys making a lot of money. So that can kind of skew this number up because you have professionals and you have people who don't have a college degree all kind of wrapped up in this number. But the average person between the ages of 25 and 34 is making just over $47,000 a year, but you don't get to keep all of this money, right? I mean, the IRS, the government wants their cut. And so if you are living in an average tax state, so assuming you're not living in New York or California where you have very high taxes, you will be paying something like $9,500 a year in taxes on this, which would leave you with right around $38,500. I know I'm rounding a little bit here, but this is how much money you will be left with every single year, assuming you're making an average salary. I just cleaned this off to make it a little bit easier to see, but you have $38,500 a year to play with, which is right around $3,200 a month. Now, the first cost everybody's got to pay is you got to pay for your housing. The average apartment, one-bedroom apartment in the United States is $1,200 a month. So if you're an average millennial, you might be living at a $1,200 a month apartment, plus adding another $100 or so for utilities. That's your gas, your electric, your water. I'm being kind of conservative here. So your housing costs right around $1,300 a month. Then you got to pay for your car, and the average person has a car payment. Now, if you go out and you finance a brand new car, it's going to cost you like $550 a month. That's the average price for a brand new car. So I'm going to assume that you're a little bit conservative here, and you're going out and you are financing a used car. The average payment on a used car is $380 a month. Add in your insurance and your gas, and let's assume that you're paying $450 a month for your car payment, your insurance, and your gas. Now, in order for you to get this good salary, chances are you went to college to get a degree, and if you're like the average millennial, you didn't have tens of thousands of dollars in your bank account to fund your college education, so you went into debt with student loans to fund your college degree, which is why the average student loan payment is $393 a month. Then you gotta pay for your extra guac at Chipotle, you gotta pay for your avocado toast, and you gotta pay for your Starbucks. The average millennial is spending like $140 a month on eating out, and then another $185 a month on groceries, which adds up to right around $325 a month on food. By the way, this is assuming that you're not shopping at Whole Foods paying $11 for organic soy milk. Then if you're like the average millennial, you have a smartphone, which you're financing, and then you gotta pay for your phone plan, and then all the subscriptions for the apps on your phone, like Netflix and Hulu and Spotify. So that, I'm assuming you are now conservative with this because many people are paying more than $200 a month just on their subscriptions, not including their phone payments. But I'm going to assume that you're conservative, which is why your phone plan and all the media that you're consuming is costing you $180 a month. By the way, I threw your internet costs in here too because no millennial, myself included, can survive without Wi-Fi. And this leaves me with your health costs. This is your health insurance, your gym membership, and whatever else you're spending on to take care of your health. This is costing you, on average, something like $300 a month. Let me throw one more cost in there too, because if you are a millennial, chances are you've heard of people investing in their 401k, and if you're trying to get ahead in the investing game, let's assume that you're putting 3% of your gross income. So not your $38,500, the gross income, the $47,000 that you're making, you're putting 3% of that into your 401k, which is another $120 a month. I don't know why I wrote month for these three but not the others, but you get the idea. If we add all these expenses up, your expenses every month are gonna cost you $3,068 a month, which means you have less than $140 a month every month to pay for your savings, to pay for your investments outside of your 401k, to pay for your vacations, to pay for your birthdays, to pay for your baby showers, to pay for gifts for your mom, and to pay for everything else. And this is assuming that you've been smart with your money and you have no credit card debt, because the average millennial has something like $4,800 worth of credit card debt, and I couldn't factor that average credit card debt into this, because now if you had an average credit card debt payment, then you wouldn't have enough money to even pay your bills. Believe it or not, these are what the average financials look like for the average millennial who went to college to get a good job because they're making a good salary, but all of their money is going out. And I'm being a little bit conservative here, because I'm assuming you're not driving a brand new car, I'm assuming you don't have $200 in just subscriptions like some people do, and I'm assuming that you never racked up any credit card debt. And these average numbers will explain why the average millennial struggles to save up for a down payment on a home, why it's so hard for a millennial to save up a savings account, and why it's so hard for people to start investing their money outside of the 401k, because the average millennial just doesn't have a lot of money left over after paying for all these average expenses. This doesn't mean that all hope is lost. I'll get to that in just a minute, but this is where we have to kind of really make a decision, because yeah, we can blame this problem on society, we can blame this problem on the government, we can blame this problem on the Federal Reserve Bank, but none of these things really solve the issue of what's going on. So we got to really understand what is causing this, because there is obviously an issue of wages not growing fast enough. There's an issue of our cost of living rising very quickly, but there's more to it than that. There's a little bit of a cultural issue involved here too. Over the years, we've seen a huge growth in people spending money on things that they don't need. But this trend is not slowing down. It is only intensifying, and it is getting even more difficult for the average millennial to break out of the system because of this culture, and now all the kind of tools that are coming in, which make it even easier for you to buy something now and worry about the price later. The average millennial does not have a bunch of cash in the bank account to go out and buy big things or expensive things or nice things or even smaller things nowadays, which is why we've seen a huge boom in the whole industry of buy now, pay later, or as we like to call it here, broke now, broke later. First, it was credit card debt, because everybody would get a credit card, and if you didn't know how to use your credit card the right way, then you could easily rack up credit card debt. But I think people have become a little bit more aware as to the dangers and risks of credit cards if you don't know how to use it the right way. But now it's getting even worse with the growth of these buy now, pay later systems. Companies like Afterpay and Affirm and PayPal, which allow you to buy now and pay for whatever you're buying later, have been booming, and they expect to do something like $1 trillion of transactions by just 2025. The real scary thing about these platforms is that they're so new, so most people, the average person, does not understand the dangers and the risks and the costs associated with them like we do with credit cards. Because the way they work is you go shopping online, you find this new wardrobe, you find this new sweater that you want to buy, and you go to the checkout page, and then it says, do you want to pay for this sweater later? Because now all you got to do is pay for this $80 sweater in 3 installments, and you don't even realize the small interest that you're going to pay on it. And so all you got to do is click that button, because these platforms just integrate with all these e-commerce stores, so you can buy whatever you want and just pay for it later. And now everything that you're shopping for, everything that you're buying online, you're paying a little bit of interest on, and you don't even realize it. And now everything that you're buying, from your clothes to your furniture and maybe even groceries, you're financing. Now anytime you make money, your money is immediately going out, which leaves nothing for you, because you got to pay for all that stuff you bought last year today. You know, we're a culture that really drives and thrives on emotion, where right now, if you want something, you got to have it. And when you got to have it, you got to have it now. even if that means financing it and worrying about the cost later. Because this is kind of the mindset that we have. It's the instant gratification mindset where when we want something, we want it right now, and we're not going to save up the cash to buy it when we can afford it. We're just going to buy it right now and worry about the price later, because who cares about our finances next year? We'll worry about it then. Couple that with the Instagram social media flex culture, where when people see somebody else on Instagram having nice things, they want to one-up them. Because when you see your cousin Bunty driving around with his brand new Beamer or his brand new Gucci scarf, what do you want to do? You want to go and get a brand new Beamer or a better Gucci scarf, and how do you pay for it? Well, you finance it. So on one hand, we have this cultural spending issue where it is cool and it is normalized to spend all their money on nice things and to go into debt to have your nice things, because that's just what everybody does. And if you don't do that, you're a weirdo. And then on the other hand, we have this shift in our economy and the job market, because so many millennials have already racked up so much student loans to get a degree, to get a job, where nowadays many people don't even need that degree to get that same job paying the same amount of money. Our economy and the way our economy works is really starting to go through a shift right now, because many people are realizing that college does not have the same value that it did before. Now, obviously, college is important, especially for certain professions. Like if you want to enter the STEM field, if you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, you gotta go through college. But a lot of people are starting to realize that if you don't know what you want to do out of high school, maybe you can go and get a job or go and take a year off doing something else and learn without going to college, or maybe go to community college. And so you have this whole kind of batch of millennials that went through college because that was just kind of the thing to do. If you don't know what you want to do, just go to college. And when you're 18, you kind of just sign your life away with an unlimited amount of student loans, because people didn't understand the dangers and the cost of student loans. And only now are we really starting to see that. And this really became amplified during the 2020 pandemic, because people are paying tens of thousands of dollars to go to these prestigious schools, where now you can just take all of your classes online, and when you're going to your classes online, you're still paying $40,000 a year as you would as if you were just sitting in the classroom. And people are starting to realize that that makes no sense. And so this is kind of really starting to make a shift in the college culture. Where is college important? When will it be important? And at the same time, you have so many companies that are dropping their college degree requirement because they understand that you're going to have to learn the skills at the job. And I can tell you this from my perspective too, because I'm an employer. But more and more employers are now not looking for degrees. They're just looking for what you know, what you're passionate about, and what your skills are in. And so if you can learn how to do something and be good at it because you're passionate about it, now you're just as qualified as an employee who got a degree. I really think and I hope that we see a big shift in our college and higher education this decade, because millennials have been so fed up with student loans. And on the other side of things, people are wondering, why are they paying so much for college when you can attend the exact same classes online from your home? Couple that deep-seated spending culture with that changing job culture, with now an economy where the cost of living keeps going up and up and up, and this puts millennials in a really tough space. I mean, don't even get me started about what a retirement is going to look like when it comes time for millennials to retire, because pensions are no longer a thing for millennials. Social Security is drying up, and millennials, for the majority of people, are only investing their money in their 401k, when your 401k was never intended to be your sole investment or retirement account. And many millennials are not even doing that. Now, while this might not sound like good news for the average millennial, the good news is you do not have to be like the average person. I mean, if we just come back and we take a look at some of these expenses, you can cut some of these expenses down. That's one of the first things you gotta do. One of the easiest ways to keep more money in your wallet, to keep more money for yourself, is to cut down some of these expenses. Live in a smaller home. Live in a studio apartment. Do what you gotta do. Share an apartment. That way you can save half of this money right there. Your car. Stop financing your car. What I want you to do is find a used car that's in good working condition and buy it with cash. $5,000 can buy you a pretty decent working car. Then your student loans, you gotta pay off your student loans, so there's nothing you can really do there. With your food, stop paying for extra guac at Chipotle. What I want you to do with your food is now go to the store, buy yourself an 83-cent avocado, and make your guacamole at home. Then, when it comes to your phone and media, stop financing your phone, stop putting everything on a payment plan, and cut out some of the subscriptions that you don't use, because chances are you got at least one subscription that you're paying for that you're not using. Then with your health, you got to take care of your health. Not much you can do there. And with your 401k, continue to invest your money. But if you at least make some of these cuts, you're going to have a little bit more money every single month. That way now you have some more money to put towards your savings and to put towards your regular investments. Once you work on reducing these costs, then what I want you to do is work on this income. Maybe you can get a raise at your job, maybe you take on a second job, or maybe you add in a side hustle or side business. That way you can create more income. But here's the thing, as you start to make more money, do not fall into the trap of you make more money and then you start increasing your costs. For a little while, start making more money here, keep your costs the same, and put all of this money towards your investments. That way now you're working to create more income, you're working to build your wealth, and you're adding more money to that. That way you can really build this freedom, because if you don't start taking care of it now, somebody, that means you, is gonna pay the price later. And that's why you wanna be smart now. Start cutting down some of these expenses so you have more money, and then work on increasing this income. That way you have more money going to actually build your wealth. Because if you continue to live paycheck to paycheck with no money left over every single month, you are gonna pay the price later, and you don't want to deal with that. So start taking care of it now. If you enjoyed this video, here's the video that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our free finance and business newsletter. And as always, keep hustling. In the 70s, our dollar was taken off of the gold standard, so our dollars became just paper.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets